Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Bayonetta 2 walkthrough. It's time for us to begin Chapter 1, Noatun, the City of Genesis. Now, after the incredibly intense prologue, in which so much was happening, and just I was geeking out constantly, we begin Chapter 1, and things kind of slow down a little bit, so I'm going to have a bit more time to actually talk you through some things that I wanted to talk about the last time, but never got the chance. Now, as with the first game, we begin with travelling by map. It's wonderful. And the music for this particular cutscene is Enzo Talks. And talks. I'm sure it would continue, and talks, and talks, and talks, if it could.
Like some god in the first place is that no one's ever been able to get close to the damn thing. It's like it don't want you there. Every climber ends up stranded or worse. And don't even try to fly a plane near that place or bada boom! But at least your soul doesn't have a long walk to whichever afterlife you got lined up, right? I'll wait for you in Noatun at the foot of the mountain. Just hurry up with whatever it is you gotta do and get back there, alright? And the hotel's going on your account, with a minibar too. Gotta keep myself busy while I'm waiting. Forget about it. I love those miniature drinks.
I can't believe you, Enzo. I didn't know the in-flight service was exclusive to fat Italians.
Ren, the plane ain't free, you know. That reminds me, you owe Alex the kid for the charter. Whoa! Yeah! There it is. That's Fimbleventer. Not such a bad place when you look at it. Oh, but you gotta have a death wish to get close to that damn place if you ask me. Wow. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. What the hell? Where did these clouds come from? What the fuck?
Sorry, Enzo. This is where I get off. Say hi to the wife and kids for me.
What? Wait, what? You're joking, right? I can't fly this piece of shit! Ah! Those are damn nice things.
Jeanne, I'm on my way. Just behave yourself for a bit longer.
So here we are in Noatun, which I have to say looks absolutely stunning. Like, my god. The amount of kind of visual improvements they made over the original Bayonetta for this is insane. Like, I mean, the water's just ridiculously beautiful. And the amount of detail they've got going on is just ridiculous. And it's so colourful, and oh, I love it. Anyway, first collectible, a new beginning, a fragment. And now it is time for dramatic reading. For reasons I will not get into here, I have dedicated my life to searching for the truth of the Umbra Witches. You could even say I sacrificed the best years of my life pursuing this story. Working backward from the legends these women left behind, my search took me to Vigrid, a town in the remote hills of Europe the witches once called home. I ended up getting myself involved in a crazy tale of my own while in Vigrid. I'm thinking of getting it published one of these days, so the details will have to wait for the paying customers. My fascination with the witches has not waned, far from it, but something new has captured my inquisitive eye. A story of even greater depth calls to me. I had to know more about the true source behind the power of sage and witch alike. I grew restless, and before long I found myself back on the investigative trail. It wasn't long before I found the very place referenced in that ancient scripture. A quiet town nestled between sea and mountain, Noatun. Not 5 minutes in town, I was shocked to see something that confirmed my suspicions, and what a sight it was to behold. There was nothing less than the statues depicting the familiar form of sage and witch, statues that were second to none even when compared to those in Vigrid. Now, I apologise for those of you who do not like dramatic reading, but I kind of feel it's okay in this context, because it's not that often. Now, I was just looking off the edge there. Something that's rather mean about Bayonetta 2, and I mean, it improves dramatically over the original game in terms of backtracking to get items and verses and so on and so forth. But it does a rather mean thing of sticking a broken witch heart, which is a heart piece, down there, and you can't get it until after chapter 5. Also, we just picked up a Umbran Tears of Blood. Hidden around the world you will find these crows, and you have to basically catch them, and they count towards kind of completing your bewitchment thing. Generally, they're quite easy to get. You've just got to kind of panther within to get to them, and panther within is your way of moving ridiculously quickly. Now, a new feature for Bayonetta 2 is that you can actually go underwater. And this basically is, in addition to the flying battles, you will get underwater battles. So they kind of went full pace with trying to kind of figure out new ways to battle. It's the same sort of stuff, but it's a nice change in environment, I have to say. Now, Noatun, you may recognise, potentially, I'm not saying you will, but basically it is from Norse mythology. And a lot of Bayonetta's kind of world-creating stuff comes from Norse. I mean, there is the Dante's Divine Comedy stuff with Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso, and that is certainly there, but a lot of stuff comes from Norse. So Noatun, which in Old Norse means ship enclosure, is the abode of the god Njoror, described in the Prose Edda book Gylfaginning, as located in heaven. That's about all Wikipedia will provide me with, but I have to say it's a really cool name for this place, and it does fit it very, very, very well. Now, this first area is huge. As you can see, it's also beautiful. And is one of the instances where the frame rate is not great. It's phenomenal elsewhere, but here it's... Now, I'm not going to be spending too much time in the menus because I'm only going to switch out my weapons when I need to. Starters when I get new weapons. But also, just in general, I will only go in there if I have to. Now, as I was saying, with the size of this place, it's huge, and there's a lot of stuff hidden here. So not only have we got one notebook, and now we've got a second notebook, which, dramatic reading time number 2, Divine Retribution. It's going to happen a lot. If you're going to spit in the face of God, you're probably going to incur some of his wrath. That's just common sense to me. Still, I can't help but feel a little sorry when I hear the level of divine retribution some of these witches get dealt. One case I witnessed was particularly bad. The type of punishment that never gets better, hurting for all eternity like a curse. A number of which had the resting place that carried her remains shattered into pieces, and her soul flung into a rift in time and space never to be saved again. Just thinking about what this witch must have done to get dealt a hand like that drives me almost insane with curiosity. I'd kill for the chance to sit down and chat with the Lumen Sage that did it to her. Yet, judging from the witches I know, you could expel them to the ends of the universe and they'd still find a way back. It's very true. But this introduces us to the hidden Umbran resting places, which are another thing which we need to collect. Throughout the game there are 8, I think. Also, there is an Umbran Tears of Blood on one of the pillars there, but we can't get that yet either! Thank you, game, for making me have to come back to this chapter for 2 things now in the first room. It's great of ya! Now, basically with these, with the Umbran resting places that are hidden, you have to collect 5 broken pieces in the time limit. Now, these are all pretty much very, very easy, except for the last one, which I will say is a massive challenge. Basically, all of these provide broken witch hearts and broken moon pearls, which are what you need to collect in order to increase your health and also your magic gauge, both of which are very important things that you should do. Also, you get a bewitchment for finding and opening all of them. Now, that bewitchment does not include the other Umbran resting places, which you can see scattered around, which I have opened a few of already. Like these. It does not include these. These just have optional extras that you can get. Now, you may think, oh, we're done now, aren't we? Nope, still got another blooming journal fragment, and also something very interesting, which we will be going into now. So, unknown entrance. Have you ever heard of gates that connect worlds? It might sound like strange fiction, but the truth is these gates exist all over the world we live in. The gate that connects the 3 worlds and makes the foundation of our own is relatively well known, so if you're reading this, I'll just go ahead and assume you know of it. However, there are stories of doors that lead to the secret lairs of the supernatural, and I've got my great source of information that brings this to light. I can't reveal who my source is, but according to them there is a gateway that leads to a primordial world cut off from the flow of time, a place called Muspelheim. The place is full of demons, angels, witches and sages who spend their days pursuing nothing other than battle. This limitless world disregards the wounds and deaths of yesterday, always breathing life into its warriors so that they may live to fight another day. You know the stories about some guy who just suddenly disappears, is gone for months, and then reappears out of thin air as if nothing ever happened? There's a large probability that guy accidentally stepped into Muspelheim and somehow found his way back. I know it's the job of a journalist to explore and uncover the truth behind rumours like these, but as far as travelling to other dimensions in a state of endless war, I think I'm good for now. Have to agree on that point. But, as Bayonetta, we very much need to go into these Muspelheims, as these fill the job of the Alfheims from the first game. Now, Muspelheim itself is a realm of fire. It's also called Muspel, and it's one of the 9 worlds in Norse mythology. But here, it's basically optional challenges that are quite challenging. So, we have a timed battle in which to defeat a bunch of angels. This one isn't really that difficult, and for the most part, the Muspelheims in Bayonetta 2 are a lot easier than the Alfheims of the original game. Having said that, there are, well, at least there feel to be a lot more of them. It may not quite be the case, but these Muspelheims do comprise, well, they make up quite a lot of the verses in Bayonetta 2. Because there are, surprisingly, a lot of optional verses in Bayonetta 2. Essentially, you can skip quite a few of them and still get through the game fine. What this means is that you can get through the game a hell of a lot quicker if you want to, but it does mean that you will scupper your rank mightily if you decide not to check it out. So in this walkthrough I will be covering every single Muspelheim, even the ones that are ridiculously stupidly hard, and gave me massive headaches. Now there's that Umber and Tears of Blood there. Can't get it right now. You need you need a technique that we can't unlock until later in this mission. Well, this chapter. It's just like, why do you do this to me? Just why? It's evil. Anyway. Moving on. Like, seriously, I have so much to talk about with this game, it's unreal. So, Bayonetta is voiced by Helena Taylor, as she has been since the original game, and she's just amazing. So, she's not a particularly famous actress or voice actress, but she has been in quite a lot. So, in terms of theatre, she's been Juliet in a production of Romeo and Juliet, Maria in a production of West Side Story, Queen in Cymbeline, Hope Harcourt in Anything Goes. And then in terms of film, she's Greta in Barcelona, and a few other things. But we've got another blooming fragment! Strange events sometimes work their way into our everyday lives. Stories abound, flashbacks from places you have no memory of, a kid who suddenly starts speaking a foreign tongue, or a voice in your head that ends up saving your life. The list goes on and on and on. There is said to happen when people come into contact with the remnants of memory left by the world by God. The god of the human realm had special eyes that could see all existence and happenings across the earth. They could see the fate of whomever they gazed upon, their past, present, future, everything. God loved the human world, and his kind heart began to feel sadness for mankind. He decided to commit to memory every detail, like a photo, and so on and so forth. He ended up doing it so much that he eventually forgot about them, and these records were left scattered across the earth. These are known as the remnants of memory. They usually can't be seen or felt, but the truth is these memories could be anywhere. You could be standing in one of God's memories right now, which is a terrifying prospect. And I think we're going to get another thing just through... Yes, here we go. Although, I believe this one is to do with concoctions. Okay, no, sealed time. There's so many of these. Don't worry, it'll settle down. Sometimes you come across something lost long ago, and it's been untouched, found exactly as it was when it was lost, almost like ancient towns frozen in time after volcanic eruptions. Sometimes children even discover these ruins while playing. When I arrived here, I was circling around the harbour doing some research and happened to hear a story from the local fishermen. There seem to be these large pools of water about the city. These are ruins, containing statues of witches and sages, and the god that gave them their powers. They say there was a devastating tsunami that hit the city long ago and cracked its very foundation, causing the water to seep in and creating the vista you see today. I'd be interested in taking a peek at these ruins before they completely crumble away, but I'm not going in the water at this time of year. Freezing cold. That being said, I know a witch who probably wouldn't think twice about dancing her way into freezing water, though. I might come back after it warms up a bit, make a little vacation out of it. Yep, that's a plan. Have to say I agree. And as we head into our second fight for the chapter, although most people will have this as their first because they won't realise about the Muspelheim, just finish off about talking about Helena Taylor, who's amazing. So she's also Maria in Americano, she's an Azeran counsellor in Stargate Atlantis, Maria in the Burning Zone. And then in terms of video games, she's Serafina in the Golden Compass video game, Veronique in Saboteur, Fiona in Valkyrie Profile, Covenant of the Plume, and Wisp in Sanctuary. So she's been in a reasonable amount. But yes, it's insane. Also, this game moves so quickly. Like, you can probably tell it's a very fast game, but when you compare it to the original Bayonetta, the speed's just unreal. And it's something that's going to be a lot more noticeable as the game progresses, because you get more challenging enemies who attack insanely quickly. to the point where witch time is practically necessary to damage them. Is that a terrible way of doing gameplay? It could be worse. Because basically, the original Bayonetta, while witch time was there to be used, it could sort of act as a crutch if you weren't great at the game, and was merely sort of a way of getting through. For this game, because of Umbra and Climax and all of that, witch time has kind of gotten some changes, so it's a lot less effective in that the time is less, and also there is a basically staggered length for witch time. So there's two versions, one which is really short and one which is longer, and it totally depends on the timing for when you dodge at the last minute. The statement of last minute is kind of slightly muddied. Now, I have to say, that is the only time I have ever pulled off that particular dodge move. And I do mean that truly. I've only ever pulled it off there. I think what you do is you dodge towards the centaur angel at that very specific moment, and you will pull it off. But I've never done it elsewhere. Also, good grief, I have just been talking for what is essentially 15 minutes straight. I apologise if I'm ridiculously overly talkative and for the dramatic readings, but this game excites me. I really enjoy it. I mean, I have problems with it, and I question whether it is a better game than the original Bayonetta. Most people would say yes, but there are certain elements of, well, certain design decisions made for Bayonetta 2 that I think make it lose a little something. It's mostly because Hideki Kamiya didn't direct it, so his style of direction is missing. And I think that his style is hugely important in creating stuff that's absolutely astounding. So here we have an optional verse, which there are lots here. Like, I mean, already we've had 3 optional verses out of 4. So it's very easy to get through Bayonetta 2 without ever seeing some of these. Maybe slightly obtuse how you get some of them, and in later circumstances that's very much the case. But as long as you explore everywhere, and are at least aware that there are hidden verses, then you'll make sure to kind of double check everywhere before moving on. And here we have an entrance to the gates of hell. And hello, Rodan.
When Ed and Edna found their daddy wasn't coming back, it made me stay all the way through dinner.
Don't pretend you weren't delighted. I hear Enzo's wife makes a lovely casserole.
It was damn good. I'll give you that. Anyway, tell me how my babies are doing.
They're behaving quite well. They found plenty of playmates here.
Figured they would. Noatun had some deep connections with Fimbulventer and the Gates of Hell back in its day. Wouldn't be surprised to find a few of those playmates that like it rougher than the typical bunch. Anyway, you need any supplies, just make sure you keep bringing me these halos. And remember, I ain't here to get up in your business. My business is making things that do business. So don't come crying to me when you think you gotta do everything alone. I'm here to help. Just make sure you don't bust a cap at my ass.
So, after that cutscene, we are allowed to enter the Gates of Hell. Now, the Gates of Hell is basically your shop, if you weren't aware. And in it is some very, very important stuff. Going into it now is a great plan, because there are certain techniques that you are going to want to buy right now.
Welcome to the Gates of Hell. We've lit our prices on fire, so there won't be hell to pay. Come on, I gotta say some cheesy shit sometimes.
Indeed, but that was particularly cheesy. So, going in now, we are going to get Bat Within and Crow Within, which are what I would say are integral. Crow Within allows you to fly, and is what you need to get that Umber and Tears of Blood from earlier. And Bat Within gives you basically a sort of bigger buffer for when you can dodge. Because it's the instant you get hit. And then you go to Bat Within, you go into Witch Time. So, you're going to want to do that, because it's going to be a godsend. And the reason I got the Afterburner Kick is because it is a very useful technique when I actually managed to use it. Because it allows you to kind of stay in the air, and you're going to want to do that every now and again. But that's part 1 of chapter 1 done. It's time to continue further. This chapter is so long, it's ridiculous.
If you need to learn how to talk to a lady, ask your mum.